everyone, Shirley here. You may have heard we have a new administration. The president made a lot of campaign promises about changing the federal budget and the way federal agencies operate. Regardless of your political views, those of you who provide goods and services to the federal government need to be prepared to help your federal clients achieve their missions, especially in the face of changing priorities and budgetary conditions. Today, we're talking about how small GovCons can communicate their unique strengths to help the federal government inject more innovation into agencies, streamline operational processes, and better serve the American people. My special guest today to help me peer into the future and, more importantly, to help small GovCons prepare to compete and win federal contracts over the next 4 years are Stacy Piper, President of Piper Strategies, and Leslie Bermudez, President of Strategic Business Solutions. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Shirley. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Same here, Shirley. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you both for joining me today for this important discussion. Please tell our audience a little about yourselves and your companies. Leslie, you want to go first?
Sure. Thanks, Shirley. And thank you for having me today for what promises to be a fun and informative topic. And more importantly, thanks to everyone who's taken the time to join us for this discussion. We're happy to have you here with us and hope our discussion leaves you with some new ideas and insights to help you grow your business. So, as Shirley said, I'm Leslie Bermudez, President of Strategic Business Solutions. We are a management consulting and executive and organizational development coaching firm in the GovCon industry. We support GovCon clients of all sizes with full-service proposal support, outsourced project and quality management, executive and organizational development coaching, business development, and human and organizational performance improvement.
Thank you, Leslie. Stacy?
Thanks for inviting me today, Shirley. I'm really excited to dive into this topic with you and Leslie. My name is Stacy Piper, and I'm the founder of Piper Strategies, an 8-year-old full-service outsourced marketing and communications agency focused on helping small and emerging mid-market professional services and technology solutions providers position to win more work with government agencies. I've taken what I've learned in-house at a fast-growth GovCon to help smaller organizations pivot their brand messaging, marketing tactics, and content strategies at various inflection points in their company's growth and maturity. Our differentiators are our decades of experience marketing to the public sector and our flexible approach to act as part of your team in a fractional capacity, helping to mentor and train your in-house team as we build and implement your marketing.
Awesome. Thank you both. Today's topic has been top of mind for many government contractors since the election last November. The research I have done was to examine some of the actions from the first Trump administration and to monitor public data to glean an understanding of what might be the administration's priorities. And these are my conclusions. No surprise here. Money will probably be shifted away from the EPA, education, and the IRS, but more funding will go to DHS, particularly to ICE and to Customs and Border Patrol. We live in an increasingly hostile world, so I don't see spending in defense or cyber decreasing. And Medicare is the third rail that politicians will not touch because, frankly, seniors vote. However, in talking to my contacts in a number of federal agencies, I am hearing that most of them are preparing to defend their jobs, programs, and missions. My first question to you both is, what role, if any, can small businesses play to help federal agencies justify their existence? Leslie, you want to take a crack at that first?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Shirley. In this environment where agencies are anticipating the need to justify their budgets and missions, small businesses can play a critical role. Small businesses have unique agility and innovation, which can help federal agencies adapt to shifting priorities and optimize operations. In my experience, small businesses are often more nimble in responding to the dynamic needs of government agencies, especially when it comes to introducing new technologies or more efficient processes. Small businesses are able to pivot quickly. They deliver solutions on a faster timeline, and they're able to bring fresh perspectives that can help agencies justify their missions by demonstrating tangible improvements, whether it's a process improvement, a new software solution, or a more effective way of executing a project. Small businesses can deliver value in a way that large contractors might not be able to. In addition, small businesses often have a unique connection to innovation. And that's something government agencies desperately need to stay competitive, especially in areas like cybersecurity, AI, and data analytics. By introducing new tools and methods, small businesses can help agencies prove their effectiveness and relevance, both to the public and to lawmakers who control their funding. So small businesses are poised to play a key role in helping federal agencies not only justify their existence, but to thrive in a rapidly changing environment. When you think about the federal government, it's often constrained by legacy systems and processes. And small businesses, on the other hand, are more flexible and can bring fresh ideas to the table. This is where innovation comes into play.
I agree. Stacy, what are your thoughts?
Shirley, I also agree with Leslie's points on agility and innovation wholeheartedly. Furthermore, I'd recommend that government contractors examine their current bill of work and proactively suggest plans for efficiencies and transparency for their ongoing work efforts. Offer to set up dashboards and enhance reporting to show efficiencies gained and impacts had in running and improving the program over the course of time. Suggest ways to utilize machine learning, robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence to perform frequently needed repeatable tasks more quickly. Also, if they don't already have a robust reporting and dashboards set up for their own contract performance, they should be making that a priority and showing their customer proactively how they can utilize those resources to demonstrate the impact and effectiveness of the work they are doing for the program overall. For longer-term initiatives, small GovCons should consider how they might pivot to build past performance working for private sector clients. The new administration's focus on innovation and their preference toward commercial business best practices will have new federal agency leaders putting a heavier importance on successful private sector implementation experience.
You're absolutely right, Stacy. There has always been, in my opinion, a sort of a halo effect with companies that have had commercial past performance. There is an often incorrect assumption that the commercial sector is far more innovative and efficient than government contractors. That's not to say that government contractors do not need to be particularly cognizant of commercial industry standards and innovations that can be rapidly deployed in federal agency environments. So, Stacy, how can small businesses start now to modify their marketing communications?
Great question, Shirley. There are several things that government contractors can start to do now ahead of any formal changes or official mandates. One of the most fundamental will be to update their website content with a focus on shifting key terminologies in headlines and subheadlines as well as body copy toward the language that the new administration is using, and eliminating key terms that will be hot-button turn-offs for the incoming regime. For example, when talking artificial intelligence, the new administration may de-emphasize the concept of responsible use as they strive to remove barriers for AI adoption and efficiencies. Next, companies should be revisiting their past performance and case studies to freshen the language and build in the new vernacular and cut any of the key terms that are no longer buzzwords for the new administration. By early summer, they should be ideating new methodologies and solutions to meet the new administration's objectives, and then build corresponding website, social media, and thought leadership content that will appeal to the incoming appointees and align to the language we expect to see in the 2025-26 RFIs and RFPs, and get prepared for the federal fiscal year-end flurry of proposal response activity. And remember, the new messaging will need to flow through in-person conversations, briefing decks, sales enablement collateral, and RFI responses as well.
Stacy, I'm glad you mentioned timing. With the exception of immigration, I see very few policy changes that will be enacted in FY25 that will impact most government contractors. First of all, Congress will have to weigh in on many of the campaign promises, and there will be inevitable legal challenges that could take 12 to 18 months to resolve. So I'm advising my clients to be smart and aware, but not panic. Leslie, you, of course, help companies write proposals in response to RFPs. How are you advising your clients to appeal to the new administration's priorities, if at all?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shirley, and certainly one that's top of mind for many of my clients. The new administration's priorities, as we've seen, will likely shape the direction of federal contracts and funding for the next few years. My approach when advising clients on how to appeal to the administration's priorities is twofold. Understanding the shifts in focus and crafting proposals that align with those shifts while maintaining their unique value proposition. First and foremost, it's critical to understand how the new administration's budgetary and policy shifts might affect federal agencies. For example, we are anticipating increased spending on DHS, particularly ICE and CBP, and these agencies will likely be looking for solutions in areas like cybersecurity, border security, data analytics, and AI-driven law enforcement tools. Similarly, agencies that are traditionally underfunded or facing cuts like EPA or education might be looking for solutions that help them accomplish more with greater efficiency and fewer resources.
I agree with you, Leslie, but hasn't that always been the case? There seems to be a current public perception, fueled unfortunately by campaign messaging, that government agencies are bloated, inefficient, and ineffective, and by association, government contractors are incompetent and overpaid. How do you respond to that?
Well, Shirley, I've always been a believer in the what gets measured gets managed philosophy. So we've always advised our clients to ensure that their proposals emphasize how they can help federal agencies achieve mission success with measurable outcomes. With this administration, we're hearing there will be an emphasis on efficiency, security, and innovation. So now more than ever, we're advising our clients to do three things. One, highlight innovations that improve efficiency, whether through technology solutions or processes. Small businesses need to showcase their unique capacity to bring modern, forward-thinking solutions that can save time and resources. And two, emphasize measurable results. We're advising our clients to quantify their successes, demonstrate how their solutions deliver tangible, measurable results. And finally, focus on outcomes over processes. It's no longer enough just to describe how your company delivers your services. You need to demonstrate how those services will directly impact the agency's mission. As we've seen, some of the budget changes will stem from new legislative initiatives or shifting policy priorities. So it's essential that proposals are framed in a way that aligns with the broader national priorities, whether that's focusing on national security, public health, or environmental sustainability.
I agree, Leslie. I am so glad to hear the two of you who approach this topic from different perspectives have similar advice to small GovCons around measurable results. Now I want to talk about what not to do. Leslie, how are you advising your clients on the negative, what not to do over the next 4 years?
Yeah, what not to do is just as important, if not more important, than what to do, especially in the competitive world of federal contracting. The government contracting space is really structured and highly competitive, and proposals can easily go off track if you're not careful. We could do an entire podcast on what not to do in your proposal, and in fact, I've done several hours-long training sessions on this topic, but in keeping with the spirit of this podcast, let me just say this. Don't overreact. The federal government is a very big machine, and dramatic shifts will take time. In the interim, the business of the government will go on. The requirements don't just go away because the administration changes. And while agency funding profiles may change, federal government contracting isn't going anywhere. And if there's one thing I've learned in my 30 years in the GovCon industry, it is that there's plenty of room in the sandbox for everyone. So keep investing in BD and capture, and you'll be just fine.
Stacy, how are you advising your clients on what not to do?
I'm glad you asked this question, Shirley. I agree with Leslie and would add that leaders of small GovCons should trust themselves. They have achieved their success thus far by knowing their domain and audience. I would just caution them not to focus all of their attention internally and to prioritize making the changes in their outward-facing public marketing and training their staff on the new messaging pivots. I would also predict that unless their point of contact changes for a specific program, their one-to-one and one-to-few face-to-face discussions will likely not shift as much. For instance, if your business is heavily focused on civilian and social service type services, the messaging you've successfully used with them in the past will undoubtedly still resonate with those customers. It will be your superpower to help them speak about their efficiencies and impact in strong business language and try to prove their program's value and protect their funding. If you can remain level-headed and proactive, you can be the calm in the storm they are facing internally and can hopefully offer strategies to help them keep their staff focused on forward movement and progress rather than getting off course with distractions of what-ifs and becoming less effective as a result. Helping your government clients keep their eye on the ball and think several steps ahead could make you an invaluable resource in the coming months and years.
Very good advice. We need to take a break. I'm talking to Stacy Piper, President of Piper Strategies, and Leslie Bermudez, President of Strategic Business Solutions. When we come back, we'll talk about how changes in the civil service workforce might impact government contracting. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Shirley Collier, President and founder of Scale to Market, is your host for this Growthmasters Federal presentation. Scale to Market helps businesses think, plan, collaborate, and build market value by developing and executing customized, data-driven business development playbooks, building efficient information systems, and creating high-performing BD teams. Utilizing the proprietary Davy Business Development Growth Framework, Scale to Market partners with business owners and executives to increase their company's value by achieving profitable and sustainable growth in the federal marketplace. Email Shirley at scollier@scaletomarket.com to learn more about the Davy Growth Framework and how it can be instrumental in helping grow your federal contracting business. Back now to Shirley's conversation with Stacy Piper and Leslie Bermudez as they discuss how small GovCons can position themselves for growth over the next 4 years.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about what government contractors should not do in response to a change in administration. The Trump campaign promised to reduce the federal workforce. The DOGE committee is actively researching ways to cut the federal budget with an emphasis on reducing the number of federal employees. None of us know where this is headed, but what are your thoughts on how reducing civil service positions might impact government contractors, either positively or negatively? Leslie, you want to take a crack at that?
Yeah, thanks, Shirley. It's like I said earlier, the requirements don't go away just because the new administration decides to reduce the federal workforce. The potential reduction in the federal workforce presents challenges and opportunities for government contractors. On the one hand, a reduction in civil service positions could lead to increased opportunities for contractors to provide additional services to fill those gaps left by departing federal employees, such as project management, administrative support, and specialized expertise. However, it's important to also note that this could lead to increased competition among contractors as agencies look to outsource more functions. The GovCons should stay informed about the changing landscape and be ready to adapt their strategies to align with new opportunities and challenges.
Stacy, what are your thoughts?
Shirley, this is a big topic that you should likely deep dive into on a future podcast. I am certainly not a federal workforce expert, but I can think of a few impacts that could directly touch the marketing communications world I am part of. First, government contractors' long-standing friendlies within agencies may be displaced. This could mean that there needs to be a focus on networking events and getting to know incoming influencers and decision makers and making sure they know you and your company. I would encourage attending in-person events and returning to the days of requesting the privilege of coming in to give a capabilities briefing to a new agency, office, and program leader. Second, from a marketing standpoint, GovCons can offer webinars and white papers that provide training to address continuity and other turnover challenges. In blogs and articles, they should highlight solutions that ensure knowledge retention during staff changes and workforce restructuring. Third, for those GovCons providing business process improvement, workforce transformation, and human capital management services, you may find that shifting toward change management services, interoperability, continuity planning, technology adoption, and functional cross-training, including how to leverage AI, would be services that agencies may well get budget to invest in. Fourth, be open to identifying efficiencies in your own project implementation and proactively improve. I think we can all agree that fewer FTEs on a live project is far better than no FTEs on a project that is cut.
You're absolutely right, Stacy. And as there's a move toward government employees coming back to work in person, I think that's going to change the dynamics of business development. And it's the big topic. We could spend a whole hour talking about it, which we may do in a future podcast. As we close our discussion, are there any final words of advice or wisdom, Leslie and Stacy, that you might give our audience? Leslie, you can go first.
Yeah, I'd love to offer a few closing thoughts. The government contracting world is highly competitive. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially when the landscape is shifting as rapidly as it is right now. But one thing I always remind my clients is that opportunity is everywhere, even in challenging times. Small businesses are in a unique position to offer innovation, flexibility, and specialized expertise, qualities that are often exactly what federal agencies need most. So my advice is this: stay proactive and be ready to adapt. Keep an eye on political trends. Be responsive not only to RFPs, but also RFIs. And most importantly, build relationships.
Thank you, Leslie. Stacy, what are your final words of advice?
Shirley, I agree with Leslie. This is a sea change, and it will take some time for the new administration to turn and redirect the ship. I feel like we talked a lot about external customer-facing messaging on websites and in bid responses, but ultimately, there will be impacts across all channels of communication. Your staff will need to be retrained to speak to the new messaging and pivot their typical responses to include concepts which are priorities to the new administration. For your talent brand, in order to attract and retain top talent, especially when workforce and amount of contractor support are in question, companies will need to ensure they are highlighting what sets them apart as employers and showcase their talent and culture so that candidates may find them attractive. Social media, events, and thought leadership. Once the website and sales enablement collateral is done, small businesses will need to dive deeper into their marketing assets and strategies. Depending on the messaging and imagery on your conference booth backdrops, those may need to be reproduced. Companies will want to be talking throughout the year on the topics that are emerging across government agencies they can support as the new administration starts to issue executive orders and agencies begin to update their strategic plans.
Thank you so much. In summary, all three of us are recommending to our clients not to panic, but to be informed and proactive. Most small GovCons have had to be innovative and work harder, in my opinion, than large GovCons to win and keep their contracts. Double down on that. Innovation, the use of technology, and operational efficiencies to reduce costs while continuing to achieve the agency's mission. And really understand what's going on with your government clients. They will be under enormous pressure to justify their existence. And I'm not saying that there is not room for improvement in productivity, especially in procurement processes. But the wholesale reduction in force among civil servants, which is what has been threatened by some, will create chaos and not serve the best interest of the American people. Let us help our government clients keep their jobs, improve productivity, and continue to fulfill their important missions. Stacy and Leslie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with our audience today.
It was such a pleasure getting to join you and Stacy here today. I've enjoyed hearing your perspectives, and I hope our guests gotten some valuable takeaways.
Thank you, Shirley, for anticipating the need to speak frankly and proactively on this topic. As George Washington coined in the late 1700s, the best defense is often an offense. So getting ahead of this and planning for the change is going to be the most powerful strategy to mitigate risk for small businesses.
Thank you both for joining me today. Folks, if you would like to get in touch with Leslie, you can email her at leslie.bermudez@sbsexcellence.com or visit her website, sbsexcellence.com. You can also reach out and connect with her on LinkedIn. Stacy can be reached at Stacy, that's Stacey, at piperstrategies.com, through the contact form on her website, or message her on LinkedIn. Or you can reach out to us here at Scale to Market, and we'll make sure you're connected. This is Shirley Collier, President of Scale to Market and host of the Growth Masters Federal Podcast, signing off for now. As we close, I want to thank you for joining us today and encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn and visit our website, that's scale2market.com with the number 2 in the middle, where you will find a link to our webcast, which now include open captioning for those seeking more clarity in the narrative, along with our podcast, white papers, my blog, and other links and resources. While there, please leave us a comment or suggestion so we can stay focused on what's important to you. We'll see you next time.